Absinthe 5 provides 6 different effects that can be applied to the master channel on the patch window. To activate the effects window, you need to press the effect button on the top left or activate the effect on the master module slot. You can only run one effect at each time, but this is not an issue since you can always load it as a plugin on any software sequencer and apply it as an effect to each track you want the signal to be processed. In the effect window, you can manipulate the settings for each individual effect to apply in your master audio. Also, you can mix the amount of volume coming from each individual channel you want to feed the effect with, and choose between the amounts of effect you want to apply to the master audio. In the surround panel, the effects window allows you to position the effect on the surround field. You can also establish a link between the effects and Absinthe 5 functions for automation and remote control. The master section of this window is where you have access to the more detailed settings for each individual effect. To understand a little more about each of these controls, let's choose an acoustic piano preset from the library. As you can see, this grand piano preset has already a multicomb effect activated by default. Let's head back to the effect window. Here, you can choose which effect to apply over your master channel from this list of 6 available effects. In the input menu, the master channel is by default set to maximum level, meaning that the sound coming into the effect is really the master channel, or a combination of all 3 oscillators. So, if you lower it down to 0 and cut off the dry sound, there is no signal going in or through the effect. You can also mix between the amounts of audio coming from each channel and establish which frequencies you want the effect to echo over with these low and high pass filters. On the output menu, these 2 dials let you mix the amount of dry and wet signal. The wet signal is the audio that is being affected by the chosen effect. As for the dry signal, it is simply the original sound being bypassed and straight to the output. The small button on the top left activates the surround panel. This option is actually very perceptive. Just imagine that you are standing and there's a camera aiming at you from the top. These yellow dots are the source. You can program the sound to full surround by moving these dots. You can set the sound to be in front of you or behind your ears with these positioning and spread dials. In this surround menu, you can also get a rotate option. By setting it on, your sound sources will start to turn clockwise or counterclockwise, inverting the signal. You can also set the number of seconds you want for a 360-degree turn to take, from almost 0 seconds and up to a minute. In the control area, you can select one of the macro controls and set how the effect should react to the MIDI control information. Depth control fine-tunes the modulation depth. As for the lag option, think of it as a delay between the time when the information is sent by your controller and the parameters of the effect taking place. This effect area is common to every effect available, whether pipe, multicomb, multitap, echo, resonators, or the etherizer. Let's now get you to know a little more about each effect. Let's start with the pipe effect. The pipe effect replicates the physical qualities of resonating bodies. Unlike waveguides based on physical modeling, this pipe algorithm does not attempt to realistically simulate existing instruments or other natural resonating bodies. To understand a little more what pipe does, it is sometimes best to imagine it as a kind of string or a pipe. Let's take this picture down here and think of this line as if it was a string. This blue input arrow is where the input audio is sent, for example, from a loudspeaker set close to this line and causing for it to vibrate. The two green and red, left and right arrows, are the stereo output. They receive the signal sent from the loudspeaker and vibrating across the string to each of the outputs, just like a guitar pickup. You can set a position of the input and output arrows on each of its corresponding position values from 0 to 1, and also set the master length of the string here, by beat or seconds, to achieve different results. There are a large number of echoing and ping-pong results that you can obtain whether you choose to have the outputs positioned farther apart, close together, or even out of sync. This control sensitivity option will set the degree of impact that my control will have over the effect's parameters, and inverting it with this option will invert the higher values to lower, and also the other way around. In the feedback menu, you can set the amount of feedback or the time you want the string to resonate. The higher the value, the longer your effect will be sent to the left and right outputs. There is also a low-pass filter option on the master bar. Here you can set a cutoff frequency, changing the string's sustain characteristics. Up next is the multicomb effect. This effect is basically a delay unit, offering up to 6 independent delay lines based on comb filters that use low-pass filters in the feedback loop. Multicomb specializes in modulation effects. With an appropriate modulation source and a couple of delay lines activated, you can easily achieve flanging and other effects based on phase shifts. The time menu on the master channel sets the time during which you want your effect to spread out. Just like on the pipe effects control, you can also get a feedback and low-pass filter that work in the exact same way as we saw before. To activate or deactivate comb filters, you must press the on button at the beginning of each row. The time control sets the delay time of the respective comb filter. This is measured in percentage and correlates to the value you have selected in the master time control. Also, just like in the pipe effect, you get a control sensitivity option to set how the macro control affects the time control on the comb filter. The feedback and low-pass percentage correlates to the value you chose in the master feedback and low-pass control. As for gain and pan options, I believe they are at this stage a well-known function. Still, by changing these values, you can achieve amazing panoramic results by enhancing some delay effects and lowering others. and also positioning them in a 360-degree surround. This multicomb effect ends the first chapter on this effects window. On our next tutorial, we will be exploring the multitap, echo, resonator, and heat riser effects, so stay tuned to learn more about the effects available on Absinthe 5.